No, per tanto non ce n'è bisogno. È freddo. Ma giorno che ne va la fogata.
Welcome to France, welcome to Dijon, welcome to Burgundy. This is the third round of the Fanatec GT2 European Series. Around that mark the second half of the season. And we have now Henri Acide alongside Anthony Beltoise, who set the pole position on their Audi R8 cars. It's the first time that the Fanatec GT2 European Series make a stop in Dijon in the championship series. It's a French track, a well-known French track, and well-known for the fact that Dijon hosts the Formula 1 GP in the middle of the 70s and the beginning of the 80s. And you may normally know that in Dijon there was a spectacular fight between Gilles Villeneuve and René Arnoux in 1979. Every race fan can remember the last lap of this Formula 1 race in 1979 with two cars fighting and touching each other during one lap. It was a crazy lap, and this lap saw Gilles Villeneuve take the second position to René Arnoux. And who remember who was the winner? And the winner was a Frenchman, Jean-Pierre Jabouille. So for the first time here in Dijon, we're expecting a big fight in this series. And we see that, as I already told you, that this is the third stage of the season. We are now in the second part of the season. And we are waiting for a good fight. And we can see here the Mercedes, the first Mercedes AMG GT2 that 2 weeks ago won his first race in Red Bull Ring in Austria. And it was the first race for this Mercedes, and with a Ricci family on board, the father and the son, and they started 7th on the grid, and finally they win their first race with the Mercedes, and it was an unexpected result. But now, for sure, we have to consider this Mercedes as a contender for the final victory in this Pro-Am category. Well, green light is on, and we are now on the sighting lap and formation lap for the start. I remind you that we will be starting for a 50 minutes race. So regarding the positions, in the championship, so for the AM category, Jan Krabek is leading guys. He won 3 of the 4 races so far, so it's a good start of the season for sure for these guys. And the only bad result was his non-finishes DNF on the first race in the Red Bull Ring 2 weeks ago in Austria. Jan Krabek is leading ahead of Klaus Engerhofer, the driver of the Team True Racing. At the gap between the two men in front of the AM category is only 4 points. In the Pro-Am categories, we have the Team True Racing leading the category with Nicolas Salins and Stéphane Rosina. The Slovak and the Belgium are leading for only 3 points ahead of Anthony Beltoise and Henri Acide, who set the pole position, as we can see a few minutes ago. And you have to know that Anthony Beltoise and Henri Acide was leading and winning the race in Austria, but was sorry, I was looking at the video footage. I saw that there was a problem for one car, but no, it's my mistake, sorry. So I was telling you that Anthony Beltoise and Henri Acide was supposed to win, but get a penalty during the race, and then lost their victory. But maybe today it's time for revenge for Henri Acide and Anthony Beltoise. Henri Acide, who was the winner last year of the AM category. So this year it's a new step for Henri Acide, alongside Anthony Beltoise, who is a very well-known French rider in the car series. And the light is green and the race is on when the car will cross the finish line. Green flag, and yes, the race is on. 49 minutes to go, and on the first corner, I guess Christopher Breuer, number 10 car, take the lead with the Porsche. The orange and black Porsche is now leading, I guess. And Henri Acide seems to have lost 2 or 3. Oh, what? There is a the KTM. The KTM. Was pushing too hard at the braking zone in the aces, and then I guess it's Martin Koch on the KTM number 17 who made a mistake and then restart at the end of the pack. So we will have a better view on the position at the end of this first lap, sorry. But I guess there is a big mistake for Martin Koch on the KTM number 17, who made a big mistake. Yes, 41 seconds in the second split. So it's almost 20 seconds more than all the other one. So I guess Martin Koch will be the last one to cross the finish line in this first lap. Yes, and Henri Acide, yes, lost 1 position in this first lap. Henri Acide is now standing in the second position, just behind the Porsche number 10. And look at the gap, almost 1 second already between the 2 leading cars. In third position, we've got Nicolas Salens with KTM number 15, and we've got a message from the race direction that the incident between car 17 and 67 is noted. So I guess maybe for number 17 car will be a penalty, maybe, in a way. We will see. Wait for the race direction decision, but it will be surprising if there is no more decision coming from the race direction. Yeah, Martin Koch made a big mistake. He was maybe too quick to wait and made this mistake. Now it's a new lap in front for Christophe Breuer, and best lap time now set by Leonardo Gorini on the other Porsche, the number 911, a well-known number for a Porsche, you will say. 1:20.105 for the best lap time. And beware of the track limit during this race, because during the practice session the race direction was really hard with the track limit, and we can have some penalty during this race, I guess, if the drivers don't stay, sorry, in the pit limit in the course, in the layout of the Dijon-Prenois layout. It's a 3.8 kilometers racetrack and a really high-speed track. The average is almost around 180 kilometers. And finally, the race direction said that there will no further inquiry for the incident between the car 17 and 67. I guess Martin Koch is quite lucky with this race direction decisions. And we see here that there is a fight coming between the Porsche 911 and the KTM crossbow of Nicolas Salins. Nicolas Salins, who is putting the pressure on the Porsche, but it's not close enough to make a move in the front. And regarding the two cars in the front position, there is a small gap now, less than 1 second between Christopher Breuer and Henri Acid. And look at the Mercedes. Mercedes is closing the gap through the leading car. Mauro Ricci is now taking the sixth position. Sorry. Oh, what's happened? A wheel in the gravel. Oh, and it's the Audi from Peter Gellings who lost his rear left wheel. That's an incredible video footage. It's quite surprising. So it means that there was maybe a mistake during the start procedure. It's quite surprising. Peter Gellings is top on the track. Do we have? We will have a full course yellow or something like that. We don't see where the car is top on the track. And yes, for sure in the it's safe. It's quite safe. We will say for Peter Gellings. And the car, look at the wheels, and the car were very lucky to avoid this running wheels. Oh, it's quite surprising. And yes, for sure, it's really bad news for the car number 1 and the team Piquet Car Sport. Peter Gellings and Stiennes Longin will be missing for sure this first race of the Dijon-Prenois meeting. And finally, safety car is on. I guess we will have to take outside the track this Audi number 1, and that's the reason why the safety car is on now. And this will not be good news for Christopher Breuer, who was escaping from Henri Acid pressure. But now the leading car will cancel every gap between all the contenders and all the drivers here in the first race. And I guess we are waiting for a truck or something like that to take over this Audi number 1. So regarding the standing, Christopher Breuer is leading just behind the Porsche number 10. We find Henri Acid, number 67 car with the Audi. Leonardo Gorini is in 3rd position with the other Porsche number 911. Nicolas Salins on the KTM number 15 is 4th. Jan Krabek for the AM category, the leading driver in the ham category, is now in 5th position in front of Mauro Ricci on board the Mercedes AMG GT2. And we find after Klaus Ungerhofer in the 7th position. Martin Koch, after his problem in the first lap, is now in 8th position. Aurelius Rusteka is 9th. And Georges Caban, number 30, is in 10th position. Safety car, so he's on for 1 lap now. And for sure we will have to be focused on what will happen on this Audi number 1. Will the car be take outside the layout of the Dijon-Prenois track? I guess it will be. Yes, here it is. As I already explained, we have a truck to take this Audi outside the circuit, but it's there's no contact between this Audi and another car for sure, and it's only the loss of the rear wheel. It's quite funny in a way, but difficult video footage that we can see actually, and the wheel finish is run against the tire walls, and no other problem for this running wheel. So the safety car will be on till we can take over this Audi. It's a tricky situation for this Audi. We have to pay attention to not create any more damage on this car. But I guess the safety car will be again in the next lap, and maybe will be over in 2 laps, because I guess the situation will be clear, yes, within 2 laps now. So for sure, when we are under a safety car procedure, the time is still running, and we already passed 11 minutes in this first race, and we will have a compulsory pit stop window to observe in this category, and change of driver. And we're still waiting for race direction information regarding the safety car procedure, but I guess we'll be started for 1 more lap. Yes, it's quite tricky situation, as we can see. Time is still running. And as you can see, the safety car switch off his light. So I guess the race will be back on when the car will be crossing the finish line. Yes, green flag. And Christophe Breuer made a perfect restart after this safety car procedure. And look to Henri Acid, who is now under pressure of the other Porsche, the 911 Porsche. Ooh. Leonardo Gorini is really pushing out to stay behind the Audi number 67, and Henri Acid will have to manage this situation, and it will not be an easy one for sure. A little bit farther, we can see that Nicolas Salins on board the KTM is now fighting with the Jan Grabek, the number 15, and look at the perfect restart of the Mercedes. The Mercedes now is in 5th position, I guess. 2 cars is leading, 3, 4th, 6th position, sorry for me, 6th position for the Mercedes, who grab 1 position after the restart. But, oh, beware, the KTM is really pushing hard and putting the pressure on Mauro Ricci, and it's Klaus Engerhofer, who's now in the exhaust of the Mercedes number 61. But in the main straight, the Mercedes create a small gap, but made a mistake inside the first corner, and the KTM is now taking the 6th position. Sorry. Mauro Ricci seems to be a little bit in trouble in the first parts of the track, and was not able to manage with the pressure of the KTM. And look at the inside of the parabolic, and now it's number 16, Klaus Engerhofer, who is now putting the pressure on the Mercedes, because Martin Koch on the KTM crossbow number 17 make the move and pass over Mauro Ricci. And Mauro Ricci is running wide on the last corner, Poix corner. Yes, and we can see the overtake from Martin Koch on Mauro Ricci for the 6th position. Was a little bit wide for Mauro Ricci. It seems pretty maybe tricky after the restart procedure. Maybe the tire's temperature was not optimal for Mauro Ricci on the Mercedes AMG GT2, and that's the reason why maybe Mauro was running and driving a little bit wide. We are back in the front of the race, and as we can see, the Audi number 67 with Henri Acid is now closing the gap on Christophe Breuer, and the gap is now under the second, 0.8 of second to be precise. And I guess Henri Acid is putting the pressure. The pressure is increasing on the shoulder of Christopher Breuer. But look at the exit of the Poix corner, and it seems that Porsche it's a little bit faster in this part of the track. Henri Acid is now managing the slipstream move from Leonardo Grorini on the other 911 Porsche. We saw that Henri Acid was maybe able to try to move and overtake Christopher Breuer, but it seems that Christopher Breuer take in consideration this problem and increase the gap between him and his contender. The gap was under the second, and now is 1 second and 12 tenths of seconds. So it seems that Breuer was quite faster in the last lap. Yes, 1:19.8 for Christopher Breuer, 1:20.0 for Henri Acid. That's the explanation of the new gap between the two cars in front of the race. We can see that we are quite close from the opening window for the pit stop strategy, as we can saw the firemen already in the pit lane. 32 minutes remaining in this first race of the GT2 Fanatec European Series. And if we are looking back, behind the leading group. We can see that Mauro Ricci lost his 6th position now for Jan Grabek, who's take the 6th position, and we have 3 KTM Crossbow in 4th, 5th and 6th position now. It's quite interesting that Henri Acid is now pushing hard and close the gap again. But once again, we've got information coming from the race direction, and we have a warning information for Henri Acid, who gets the information that you have to respect the track limit in turn number 5. That means the parabolic. Henri Acid went too wide in this parabolic corner, and that's the reason why the race direction put the information on, and I guess the team from Henri will inform the driver of this situation, and then Henri will have to be very careful with the track limit, because during the practice session and the qualification session in other series, once again, last warning for Mauro Ricci on board the Mercedes, and this is the last warning information for Mauro Ricci, so that means that the next one will be a penalty. So that's what I was explaining a few seconds ago, that during the qualification session in the other series, we have penalty and drive-through penalty or stop-and-go penalty. So be careful, and last warning for Mauro Ricci. It must be taken in consideration by the Italian riders on board the Mercedes. Well, no problem for Christopher Breas. For the moment, he's able to manage the gap between him and Henri Acid. The gap is almost 1 second, 0.8 of a second, and we have the first pit stop now for the KTM Crossbow number 15, and we have a driver change for sure, and we have a minimum time to respect in this pit lane for the driver change, and Nicolas Salins attention with the track limits, black and white flag for car number 18. Michael Doppelmayr, who is now under consideration with the race direction. We can see that everything is under control for the driver change, and the minimum pit stop time is 140 seconds. And number 15 car, to the True Racing KTM car that we saw stop, will have an additional 10-second stop to respect due to the performance on the last race. And the number 10 car, the leading car, is now stopped in the pit lane, and there is only one rider in this car. So you have seen Christophe Breuer getting outside of his car, because he's the only rider to drive this morning. And it will be back in the car at the end of the pit stop light time, the compulsory pit stop light time. And for sure, when number 10 Porsche is stopped in the pit lane, for sure Henri Acid will take the lead of the race. And the pit window stop open, and the remaining time to make this pit stop is now under 7 minutes. and it's time now for Henri Acid to push as hard as he can to create the maximum gap between him and the Porsche number 10, who was the leading car before the pit window open. And we will see what will be the position of the Audi when Henri Acid will stop and leave the car to Anthony Beltoise to finish this first race. And Marco Holzer finally is driving the number 10 car, the Porsche number 10. Christophe Breuer swap for Marco Holzer, and Marco Holzer now is on board and on the track. Restart after his pit stop procedure, and Henri Acid is now in the pit lane. Henri Acid will leave the car for Anthony Beltoise. And Henri Acid and Anthony Beltoise will have a 5-second extra time to mark in the pit stop procedure. So the total stop will be 119 seconds for Henri Acid and Anthony Beltoise. And we saw Anthony Beltoise is now inside the Audi number 67, sorry. So now we will have a new leader in this first race. After the stop on the Porsche number 10, after the stop of the Audi number 67, Anthony Beltoise is waiting for his pit stop over. There is a problem on the Audi. No. Anthony Beltoise restart. I was afraid that he gets some issue, but no worries for Anthony Beltoise, who is on track now for the last 23 minutes of the race, of the first race of the Fanatec GT2 European Series. And now we have a new leader with Leonardo Gorini, but he's now in the pit lane. So we will have to wait for the next complete lap of Anthony Beltoise to see where are the leading cars. I remind you that maybe they are both together. I guess I can see the number on the car, but I guess it's the Porsche number 10 who is in front of Anthony Beltoise when Anthony Beltoise rejoins the race. Sorry, and we have to see. We are now on the pit lane, but we have to see on the racetrack what's happening on the racetrack. But I guess the two leading cars are now again on the same lap. Yes, here they are. Yes, number 10 and the number 67. And we can see now what will be the race between onboard number 10 Marco Holzer and onboard number 67 Anthony Beltoise. Who didn't make his pit stop? Yeah, Peter Gillings, but the only number 1 is out of the race. So all the cars are now rejoining the race after their pit stop. The pit stop window will be closed in 1 minute and 30 seconds, but I guess everyone is out now. So wait for the next lap to get a clear vision of the race. But I guess, sorry, Marco Holzer and Anthony Beltoise will be on the top position of this race after Leonardo Gorini, Jan Krabek and Sedi Sarmini had made their stop. Oh, there is a problem for Anthony Beltoise, a problem on the Audi number 67. We were quite worried about the restart of Anthony Beltoise in the pit lane, and this is the confirmation that there is a problem on the Audi 67. We saw Anthony Beltoise stop in the racetrack, and cars 5 and 911 are under investigation for a shorter pit stop than allowed. We will see if there is a penalty at the end of the race or not, or what will be the decision of the race direction. But the main information is that the number 67 Audi is stopped on the racetrack, and we saw Anthony Beltoise taking a running wild section just to be outside the line of the race, and that's the bad information for Henri Acid and Anthony Beltoise, who were ready to take their revenge of the bad luck in Red Bull Ring 2 weeks ago. And for sure now it's a cruel situation for sorry, Anthony Beltoise is stopped just before Parabolique, turn number 5. So now the leading car is supposed to be the Porsche 911. Yes, we saw Anthony Beltoise, yes, outside of the line, yes, running wild in the inside, in the infield of the track, of the Dijon-Prenois track. So the car is stopped in the safe area. So no worries about the race, and no worries about a supposed safety car procedure. There will not be a safety car procedure for sure. So now we have 2 Porsches leading this first race. Leonardo Gorini in the 911 cars, but wait for the race direction decision, because the number 911 was supposed to have a shorter pit stop than allowed. So we will see, and we will be waiting for the race direction information. And we have now Marco Holzer in second position. And yes, another information that the Porsche 911 has to stay in the line, inside the line, because there is another track limit warning for the leading Porsche. And in third position we have the first of the KTM cars, the number 17 with Reinhard Kohlfer on board. And the gap is now clearly made. We have a 5-second gap between the leading car, the Porsche 911, and the second one, the number 10. And the number 10 cars already manage a 4-second and 2/10 gap on the KTM number 17 from Reinhard Kohlfer. So I guess the situation are clearly set now. And what happened on the 911 cars? We saw Leonardo Gorini running wild on the track. That's the reason why we get the information of the warning from the race direction about the track limits. But is there a problem on the leading Porsche, or this is only a small mistake from Leonardo Gorini? we take a look at the pace. 1:20 for 1 minute 20 for Leonardo Guarini. Hey, this is the bad information we were focused on, and the leading Porsche will have a 13-second time penalty for a short pit stop. So now Leonardo Guarini is in fact in fifth position. If we add this 13-second penalty to Leonardo Guarini, the gap will be behind Benjamin Ricci on board the Mercedes number 61. So it means that Leonardo Guarini will be in fifth position at the end of the race if the gap still remains the same. So now the deal is on for Leonardo Guarini. He has to push as hard as he can to create the maximum gap between his contender and to maybe be able to finish on the podium, because the third car, the KTM number 17, is almost 7 seconds behind the Porsche. So I guess it will be a quite tricky situation. And now even Stéphane Rossina on board the KTM number 15 is under the 13-second penalty. So it means that actually Leonardo Guarini will be at the 6th place at the end of the race. Beware of the track limits, warning, track limits are already done for Leonardo Guarini. Yeah, so I remind you that the car must have at least one wheel inside the track limit to be considered on the track limit, and you can see here on the curb that it's really easy to move outside the track limit. Just before the Poix corner, the last corner before the long straight, and you have to run wide to keep as much as possible the top speed to create a really strong top speed at the end of the first straight. Hey, black and white flag for Porsche 911, and once again, look at the track limit here. Whoa, he was almost losing the car, but Leonardo Guarini managed to stay on the track, but it was quite tricky for Leonardo Guarini. And Leonardo Guarini is not pushing so hard now, because the gap is not increasing, is reducing on Marco Holzer. He was over 5 seconds 2 laps ago, and is now 4 seconds and 6 for Marco Holzer. Renard Kolfer is now 6.3 seconds behind the leading car. Benjamin Ricci on the Mercedes is now 7.6 seconds behind the leading car. So it means that Benjamin Ricci actually is on the last spot of the podium. And yes, now it's still the same for Leonardo Ricci. The situation, Leonardo Guarini, sorry, not Leonardo Ricci, Leonardo Guarini. Yes, it's still on the 6th position. So don't pay attention of the leading car position, because with his 13-second penalty, Leonardo Guarini will be outside the podium for sure at the end of this first race. Another black and white flag for car number 89, the KTM, sorry, from leading driver of the RM category, Jan Krabek. Jan Krabek with a warning black and white flight. And we will be facing the last 10 minutes of the race shortly. So this is the Porsche number 10, and this is the leading car of the race 1. But now the leading car is under pressure with KTM Crossbow number 17 from Renard Kolfer. And look at the Mercedes also. The Mercedes is coming and is closing the gap to the leading car, and we will have a real big fight. The big fight is coming in between these three cars for the victory of the first race. Who will be the winner? And we can see that Marco Holzer with number 10 Porsche is under pressure clearly now. But the tricky situation, I guess it's for Renard Kolfer, who is behind the Porsche and in front of the Mercedes. So the situation for him is quite tricky. Does he have to overtake the Porsche, or at the same time manage to pay attention of the Mercedes? It's a tricky situation for the KTM driver, but it seems that in the main straight that the KTM is faster than the Mercedes for sure. And Benjamin Ricci is wait for the inside. No. The Porsche closed the gap, smashed the door in front of the KTM, and Marco Holzer is now for sure under pressure, but managed to stay in front of the race. It's not so easy for the Porsche driver, but he managed the situation, and the situation is quite tricky also. He made the mistake. It was too wide at the parabolic, but he closed the door at the exit. Wow, it's quite difficult for Marco Holzer actually to resist on the pressure from Renard Kolfer. Renard Kolfer, it seems to be quite faster in the parabolic, and now he has to take the slipstream of the Porsche in the main straight. Will he be able to overtake at the braking points? I'm not sure. Look at the situation. Yes, the Porsche seems to be a little bit faster, I guess, on the main straight, and the Mercedes is coming back with Benjamin Ricci. Benjamin Ricci, who was struggling in the main straight with the top speed for sure. The Mercedes is not so fast as we can expect. So the situation is clearly now is clear for Benjamin Ricci. Will it be able to make an overtake in the infield parts of the track, or wait for a mistake? For example, here in the parabolic, he's really close to the KTM, but Benjamin Ricci, yes, could maybe wait for a mistake from Renard Kolfer. Renard Kolfer with really aggressive and really pushing hard to take the leading position on Marco Holzer. So the situation could be a good situation for Benjamin Ricci. But we will see. Wait for the end of the race and look at this situation in the last corner, Poix corner. Clearly, the Mercedes is slower than the KTM, but at the exit, Benjamin Ricci tried to take the slipstream to overtake the KTM at the braking zone, but the KTM closed the door. Renard Kolfer came at the inside, almost on the inside curb, to keep the Mercedes behind him. Oh, and I guess the Porsche made a small mistake because the KTM is now inside and close to the exhaust of the Porsche. Marco Holzers, I think, made a small mistake. Oh, he's running wide, and the KTM goes inside and takes the lead. The KTM is now leading for the last 6 minutes and 26 seconds remaining, and the KTM close the lead and takes the lead, sorry. And now the Porsche is under pressure from the Mercedes. We saw that Marco Holder was in tricky situation, and we see in the garage of the KTM, on the number 17 KTM, Martin Koch supporting his teammate. And look at the Mercedes, who's trying to take the slipstream of the Porsche. Will he take the inside on the braking zone? Benjamin Ricci, yes, also takes the lead, takes the second position from the Porsche number 10, sorry. So we have a completed change in the top 3 position of the race 1. And 5 minutes and 30 seconds remaining in this first race. And we have now the KTM number 17 leading the car. And we have another warning track limit for Porsche number 10. So here we can see again the overtaking from the KTM in the last corner, the Poix corner. Yes, and this situation is not so comfortable for number 10 and for Christophe Breuer, who now is watching this Porsche number 10 losing 2 positions. Yes, so now we have Renard Kolfer, number 17, leading the car, because I remind you that the leading car actually on the track is a number 911 car, the Porsche car, but the Porsche car will have a 13-second penalty at the end of the race, so he's out of the podium for sure, the Porsche number 111, and yes, the Porsche will have to let pass the Mercedes and then the other Porsche in front of the race. And Porsche number 10 now is under pressure with Stéphane Rossina. Stéphane Rossina with the other KTM, the number 15 KTM, is now putting pressure on the Porsche number 10. And the Mercedes will be using the slipstream in the straight to overtake the Porsche, I guess. We will see in the last corner with the Poix corner. Here we are in the last corner. The KTM number 17 is leading now for sure. It's not really the fight for the second position, because I remind you that the 911 Porsche is outside the race of for the podium. Yes, it will be better to see if the Porsche is able to overtake the Mercedes, sorry, is able to overtake the Porsche in the first corner. Yes, it is. The Porsche in the inside, the Porsche outside, the Mercedes inside, sorry, the Porsche outside. And no, the Porsche is closing the door, but it's not so fair from Leonardo Gorini. Or maybe Leonardo Gorini was not informed that he had a 13-second penalty. Oh, and the fight is getting higher and higher and hotter between the Mercedes KTM and the other Porsche. Is the Mercedes able to take the inside line before the last corner? Yes, it is. The Porsche is now in second position for sure, and the KTM will have to make the move inside on the Porsche number 10 and on the Porsche 911, and I guess it's a successful overtake for the KTM in the straight. And we are in the last 2 minutes of the race. And I guess the number 15 KTM will be in third position for sure. And what another stunning race for the Mercedes. 2 weeks ago for the first race in Austria, they won race 1, and now here in Dijon for the second race of the Mercedes, they will be able to step up in the podium, in the second step of the podium. Yes, and now Porsche 911 is losing position lap after lap. And don't forget that Leonardo Gorini, who is now in 4th position, will have an extra penalty of 13 seconds. So he will be standing at the end of the race in 8th position, actually, because the 8th position from the KTM from Jan Krabek, number 89, is now 32 seconds behind the leader. So it will be 8th position for the number 911 Porsche of Leonardo Gorini. The last 15 seconds, almost the last 15 seconds, and we are now in the last lap of the race. And it will be normally a race win for car number 17. Here it is, KTM Crossbow number 17 from Team True Racing. Martin Koch and Kolfer Reinhardt will be sharing the top spot of the podium. Here it is, almost 500 meters to run, and this will be the victory for the KTM, and it will be also second position for the Mercedes number 61 from Benjamin Ricci and Mauro Ricci. Mauro, the father, Benjamin, the son of the Ricci family. And the third place will be for another KTM Crossbow, the number 15 from the other car from the True Racing, from with Klaus Engerhofer and Shedi Sarmini sharing this car. Here it is, victory for the KTM number 17, second position for the Mercedes 61, and third position for the KTM Crossbow number 15. For sure, it's a great result for the True Racing team, with 2 cars on the podium of the first race here in Dijon-Prenois for the first time in the Fanatec GT2 European Series history. The third season of this series, and the first time here in Dijon. And in a few minutes we will have the podium ceremony for sure, with all the guys on the podium. Regarding the calendar, we are now, as I already told you, in the second half of the season, after the round of Monza and Red Bull Ring. And we are crossing the second part of the season, and after Dijon, the Fanatec GT2 series will take the direction of Portugal in July, and second half of July they will be running at the Algarve circuit in Portugal. Then they will go to in the middle of September to Valencia in Spain, and then the final round of this Fanatec GT2 series will be held in the south of France in Paul Ricard circuit, and it will be at the beginning of October, 7th and 8th of October in Paul Ricard, for the last round and the big final round of the Fanatec GT2's European Series. So we are waiting for the 3 cars of this first race, and we will have a Pro-Am a Pro-Am ceremony for sure, and we will have a look to the Am categories. The Am categories, it's Leonardo Gorini, I guess the Porsche number 911. Yes, the penalty is already had to the result of the Porsche 911. And in this Am category, so we have the Porsche, and then we have the other KTM, and number 89 of Jan Grabeck with the solid leader. Yeah, voilà, we saw all the drivers congratulate each other, yes, and for sure it's a good result for Renald Koffer. Really satisfied for sure of this result, and a good result also for the True Racing team. Result as well for this team, and the Mercedes is no, is at the back of the screen. The Mercedes number 61 was in second position.
We have to keep on your best.
So I just finished what I was saying about the AM category, and the third car in the AM category standing will be the number 5 with Rucheka Oregius and Janavicius Montas. And in a few seconds we will have the highlights of this race one, and we can have a look to what happened in this first race after the start. And you can see Henri Acid here alongside Anthony Beltoise just before the rolling start. The first incident was on the third corner, in the fourth corner exactly, with the KTM crossbar touching the other car. After we have a wild running wheel on the Audi number 1. And then we had a big fight for the leading group in between the KTM and the Mercedes. And Porsche number 10, who was leading the race till the pit stop window open. And the other big moment was this car number 67, the Audi 67, coming back in the race in the second position, but few seconds after his return we saw Anthony Beltoise running slow outside the track with an issue. We don't get any further information about this issue, but for sure it was a bad news for Henri Acid, and Anthony Beltoise forced to retire from race 1. And the last 10 minutes was really intense, and it was a big fight in the front of the race between the KTM, the Porsche and the Mercedes. And finally the KTM takes the lead, the Mercedes takes the second position, and the number 10 Porsche finally lose his position on the podium, because in the last lap number 15 cars take the third position. So this is final standing, the overall classification after 35 laps. So we have
well, it depends on the
number 17 car so win this first race ahead of the Mercedes number 61 and the other KTM Crossbow number 15. And yes, bad luck for Peter Gellings with the Audi number 1, forced to retire after only 3 laps after the Belgium driver lost his rear left wheels, and retirement as well for the other Audi, the number 67 from Henri Acid and Anthony Beltoise. Anthony Beltoise, we just rejoined the race after the pit stop window and had an issue, stop in the infield of the track, and then we didn't get any information about this issue, but we will get it for the second race for sure. So in a few seconds now, the podium ceremony will be started. And it's a good result for so regarding the Pro-Am standing, yes, with bad luck of so for the team True Racing, it will be another victory after Nicolas Salins, who get the win in the race 2 in Red Bull Ring, who is leading the championship standing. Renard Koffer and Robert Hubert Trunken Sports are standing in the 5th position, and they will grab some good points and strong points to reduce the gap between them and the leading pair. And it will be a really bad result for LP Racing and Piquet Kersport. Henri Acid and Anthony Beltoise, we were standing in 2nd position, and Peter Gellings and Stienes Longin, who was standing in 3rd position, will be losing their position after this race 1 for sure.
very close.
So we are waiting and expecting the podium ceremony in a few seconds now. Here they are. So in the 3rd step of the podium, we can see now the number 15 pair, Stéphane Rossina and Nicolas Salins, who jump on the 3rd step of the podium. On the 2nd step of the podium, we can see the Mercedes pair, the family Ricci, Mauro and Benjamin Ricci, father and son, alongside together on the 2nd spot of the podium. And the winner of race 1, here they are, the number 17 pairs, Martin Koch and Kolfer Renard on board the KTM Crossbow, GT2 model. A strong and solid race for this pair. and joining the podium, it's the first team of the ceremony for this year. The first team, when you had the age of the two drivers, if the age of the two drivers is over 100, so there is a Iron Cup winner, and here it is Iron Cup winners. And now we saw the prize giving ceremony. Third step for number 15, Nicolas Salens and Stéphane Rosina. Second prize for Mercedes duo, number 61, Mauro and Benjamin Ricci. And the winner, pair Nicolas Martin Koch, sorry, and Renald Koffer. And it's time to spray champagne. We thought that they will save the bottle for maybe for the team or for the supporter in the hospitality, but in fact no, they spray the champagne. It was not a very useful ceremony, but anyway, here it is. And now we will have, after the overall ranking, we will have the HM podium ceremony.
Je vais me remettre de l'autre côté, hein. J'ai pas trop le choix.
So this is the Porsche number 5 from AB Motors team with Montas Janavicius and Rucius Ruceka on board Porsche GT2 RS. On the second spot of the podium, we will have a KTM Crossbow car pair and duo with number 89 with from the RTR project Jan Krabek was driving alone, and the other driving alone driver was the leader and the winner of this class. It's Leonardo Gorini, the 911 driver of the Porsche 911. And it's another strong result for Jan Krabek, who is leading the AM class. Jan Krabek, I guess, who is extended his lead, I guess, from Engerolfer. Well, yes, with this second position, Krabek is extending his lead. So this is the second podium and the last podium of this first race of the Fanatec GT2 European Series. See you this afternoon for the race 2. Bye-bye.